Is it working?
All right, I think we are ready now. Good evening, everyone. What a wonderful, wonderful day. Mark, City of Lamar, City Council, regular agenda of March 9th, 2026. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Lamar, Texas will conduct a regular meeting on March 9th, 2026. At the beginning at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers at 1109 Bayou Road, Lamar, Texas, as well as via video conference hosted through Zoom. According to section 551.127B of the Texas Government Code, presiding officer of the forum of the Lamar City Council and Timber B will physically be present at 1109 Bayou Road, Lamar, Texas. This location will be open to the public. Meeting will be broadcast at this location on channel 16 and via YouTube. Council meets for the purpose of considering the following agenda. The meeting is called order. And will give us a roll call.
Yes, sir. Councilmember District A. Present. Councilmember District B.
Present.
Councilmember District C.
Present.
Councilmember District T.
Present.
And
Thank you, Stan. Let's all. Can't hear me.
Now. Is your mic on? That's probably not.
Everybody needs to talk. Yes.
Mike's on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Stan. Let's all stand for our education and our pledge of allegiance. Ms. Dolphin, would you do that in our pledge? As we have done at the last few meetings, let's all recite the Lord's Prayer together. More than one prayer is better than one prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Let's pray.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and power, glory, forever and ever. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank each and every one of you for praying for our first meeting. Thank for us. Now, item 4, we have presentation. This presentation will come to us from Olson, Representative Olson. And this presentation is in relation to and regarding the Texas Publication policies and procedures as they relate to the city of Lamar. This is a very hot topic in our community. So we're glad to have you here. Certainly, we have a lot of questions on behalf of our community. So welcome. Could you give us your name, the role you play in this culture, and just have any presentation?
Yes, sir. Thank you for today's. And we began on my team under your paralegal and the others. We do all the teaching inputs that applies to what's finding the entire. So tonight, really, I just want to give you a very brief overview of the act and when the attorney general needs to get involved, how we have to write send stuff to the attorney general to see if help them. So generally, Public Information Act, any citizen can submit a request. It just has to be in writing. There are a few steps. There's an online portal, or there's just be non-just the city has active. How do they district the city? The state has a fund. Now, those presumption is everyone stated that all business people of it. But are accepted built into the Public Information Act for things that are confidential and needs to be very different. So that is what they're very online office. The staff within the request, if it's all public, if we know it's public, the way processes are really so we'll never request it. We get involved when there's a request for information that they maybe it's new things that they've never seen before, we send over to us and we're going to ask for our opinion. Hey, do you think this falls and we're going to accept it? If not. Or they'll send something over that they know is confidential. If it's something that they know is confidential, then we can go over to the attorney general. Because one thing that the city can't do on its own, or I can't do on my own, if we can't withhold, right? The only thing that's withholding the albums we turn for own purpose are very narrow things that like work number, names of further, bank account numbers, stuff like that. Anything beyond that, even if we think it's not personal. So for example, the criminal investigation that's that falls under one of the exceptions of the conspiracy. But the city can't just withhold it on its own. We have the right to say free, it's the attorney general's office, explaining, hey, that's confidential. This is the reason why we think it's confidential. It's the attorney general. So every request is treated that way. No request is before and up with how the attorney general requested. Because they are the ones that partner with something called the staff. That's looking for transparency to make sure all cities are operating the same and all cities are involved. So it's the attorney general office that makes that final decision for, hey, this is something the city must uphold, or this is something that the city may release. And I know you have some questions about happening into those, or I can discuss some common exceptions. So I thought you guys just want to thank you for concerns happening.
I tell you what, we're gonna do this so we can do time. Thank you for your statement. What we are probably going to do is open every council for about 5 minutes each for a round of discussion. If in fact there have been things about exceptions that you have not answered in those ample questions, you can then add those. Then we may come back to a minute or two follow up after that, so that we can kind of be respectful of everyone's. Is that okay? Yes, sir. Perfect. It's answer every time.
5 minutes?
5 minutes, please. Is it gonna be on the screen?
Yes, sir, I can put it on screen.
Also, we can see on the screens, 5 minutes apiece. Does anybody want to go first? Any person? Do you want to allow this for every want to go first? Well, let's make it up before you do that. Let's do it 2 times. All right. Ready? Ready? First.
So 2 things, you said investigation, their investigation with their things, and it would be blocked out, Attorney General. Both of those things have been done to me. Another question, if there were unlawfully protected, so already blacked out is something that I personally support. And then also a body cam with juvenile was released that was under investigation. So there's 2 things right there that are not true. I know sort of why you use Olson and Olson, and it's not good. It's not good. They're typically used to solve the related block of public record. And so you guys have not just here in the Marque, but in a lot of cities, a very, very bad reputation for what you guys do. But I personally have experienced times where I've gotten things locked up that were overreacted unlawfully, and an investigation was released. But you guys have been under microscope for a long time. And I would be very careful with how you release off the records, make sure it's done lawfully, and
I like consider I absolutely. I can't speak to those requests without having the request in front of me to be able to look at. So I can tell you from my personal experience that I do not withhold something, and I do not send something to the Attorney General unless I have a good faith belief that that is what the law is. And the Attorney General will either agree with me and say, yes, you're right, release this or withhold this, or disagree with me and with me follow their rulings. That's really all I can say without more information. But that is absolutely not what I do as far as these people trying to delay. It's the delaying actually doesn't work because the Attorney General sees that accepting rate is not a good thing exception. That's a violation of the academic stuff. That is something I have to answer this period. So if there are any requests that maybe you didn't see, maybe they're redacted by someone, you can't speak to that, or maybe you just have to give us your opinion on what the redactions would be for open investigation. Most of that is going to be, if it's open investigation and the Attorney General has ruled, that yes, you can withhold the information. What they'll say is, okay, you can full interpretation, but you have to release the basic information. The basic information from lists of items that are just facts. So opinions and a lot of other things will not fall into that. And those will end up being adapted in those situations. Let me speak to the specifics.
So there's usually just both of these are not sent to the attorney general. My lawyers have to get involved to try and get answers from all state council. So feel free to look at the name, look at the open records, get sort of on, can also look at what lawyers got involved to get the information to find out if what. But yeah, they weren't sent to the attorney general. They were just.
You have to know when now was it, because now that the people are short. So you wouldn't, your request would go to the attorney general for the most part. Because there's a new law that they can place that you have to provide access. But going beyond the, for the rest of the I think there are some limitations of that, but for the most part, it's really getting all the full information once that.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking.
You have to relate that.
It's YouTube.
Go back and tell us.
But they can read it. That we say that one more time.
Yes, sir. Under, I guess, I don't know how to number off my head anymore. But when I to the first, it said you're a member of government body, you have specified access, to the city board of public information of that government body. So as a council member, you have access to certain information. Now, there are limitations to that. The city can request an NDA, anything they consider it, that's confidential. Also, the information you receive, because it's not a release through the act, if you are part of the government body, then you still are held to the same confidentiality standards. So if a council member releases something that they receive, it can still be a violation of the act. So you do still have responsibility there. But yes, sir, under the new law, you have a much broader ability to request information from the city that you are a council member of. There are exceptions to that. I think the biggest one is probably going to be in the criminal law. But I still an open question. So I don't want to say I haven't answered that yet. No criminal ruling has decided so that new law for you. But I can't. So in a vacuum, so you have access to most good information, but it may not be completely complete. That's the best understanding of the law we have right.
And in the event that you request something, that information is not provided to them.
Under the new law, there's if say for example the city wants to sign an NDA before they approve, if they can do that, then you have to get the right to go to the attorney general and request like, hey, is this something that this NDA is actually needed for? And you need a attorney general's office will make that decision. I don't think anyone's tested this yet. So it's all hypothetical at this point. They're assuming that the attorney general then comes down and says, no, you don't have to sign an NDA for this information. Then the presumption would be that you would be able to receive that information at that point. Again, this is brand new; it hasn't happened yet, so I can't say for certain. But that's how I imagine it. That's important.
That's your first round. NDA, would you explain that in case there are people listening trying to follow along that don't know what that actually?
Oh, absolutely, Mayor. Great point. That is a non-disclosure agreement. So right now, as council members, you have this right of access to information, but you are held to the same exact standards as everyone else. And so that means if you release something that should be withheld, or if you withheld something that should be released, then you can be subject to fines, penalties under the act. But then above and beyond that, the city, if a council member is requesting information, a city can say, hey, we think this is very confidential, we think this is unique information, or whatever the circumstances are. And they can ask the council member to sign this agreement saying, hey, you understand that this is confidential and you are signing this agreeing that you will not release this information improperly. So that's what that is. It's an additional agreement above and beyond what the current law already says. It hasn't happened yet. I don't think that this law only affects the first. So you don't know exactly what this process will look like. But that is what the law is.
So, no. The new law says that the city can require elected officials to sign non-disclosure agreements in lieu of giving them greater access to information.
Not in lieu of, it's just so that they have such right of access. It's just if there's a particular request that you think is oh man, that's very confidential, you should not release that, or need to take extra precautions, set extra guardrails, then you would have to sign the NDA, and then to sign the NDA, get them the requested information. And if they don't want to sign the NDA, that's when the Attorney General will get involved. But that's the part, this is the part that's really hypothetical.
Thank you, sir. I don't know what you asked, so everyone can stay over there. Very good. Who's next?
Yeah.
Let's measure the.
So, what is an example of something that, so, this particular new bill is of something, city council people are talking about it, because not even some law firms are talking about how to interpret it, of course, is it narrow, is it broad, right? So what is an example that might delay a body council coming out?
I mean, there are a lot. I'll start from the smallest reasons, the biggest reason. So the smallest reason is, it can be a popular request for body cam footage. But there, I believe it's the application code. It got moved around recently, so I had to move to the application code, now it's the cam code. But either way, the request for body cam footage is only proper if it includes certain information. So that information will be, talking about the date, time of where the recording was, where the recording was, and also who is the subject of the recording. And if we don't have that information, then by law, it's not technically a proper body cam footage request, and so the city doesn't process it. Now, if the city, we had conversations, I had a training with the city last Thursday, and we had conversations, right? If you could reasonably figure out what they're actually asking for, then that's fine. You don't have to use this as a road law, but it may slow down the process. The other ones are really going to be if that's information that we have to get their ruling on. So the big one, I already discussed, is the open active investigation. But it's also, it's 553.108. It also covers several other things. And so the body cam study, one thing we'll cover is this a request for information like case that was closed without conviction or closed without the first adjudication? And the answer is yes. That information can also be confidential if you have to take care of. The reason for that law is we have to look at the legislative history, but really it's the definition of people. The body cam footage review being used at some point, presented this out through the internet, except because the case was closed without conviction or the first adjudication. The law says, hey, I think this is probably the essentially turning into a little bit to us. But that's the team. The biggest reason I'll leave it up now.
To that you guys meaning if something's happened and they haven't, they're not convicted of it, that can process the conviction. So that's why. Does anyone have one of the protocols, like one of the parameters of which ones are sent up to the AG's office, which ones are not?
That is a great point. My safest answer, before I was also open, I was with the city for 5 years. I was CPA for all 5 years. You don't know exactly what the attorney general is going to rule, but they have staff of like, a couple dozen, and they see attorneys that just use it all day long. And they're different people. It's subjective. It doesn't have different ideas, and so the rulings are going to differ. And so we can't say for sure 100% that it's going to be confidential or not. So we simply don't know if there's ever a question because we want an official attorney general ruling that says this is releasable to exactly avoid that situation. To avoid any liability, to avoid the city getting in trouble for releasing somebody.
I'm so glad you're in because the clock will start. So we're gonna it's happening in 2.5 minutes. We said that, but I'm glad we did that. So we didn't have to do this. She answered the question about the 5 feet. We did. Yeah. Yes. Let's take the field. Are you ready?
I'm obviously, I'm glad that they're directly from the sector. Number one, when you bid on your contract with City, is that correct?
I wasn't here when we were awarded City of Marque. The City for Professional Services doesn't always have to go for bid. You can reach out to us directly. I'm not sure why.
Okay, so that's one request, that's like the, or the nature of when the relationship was established. Because even your board, I have, like, those experience, and it's number two, where the typical market continues to get challenged is you, it's also the rules are indicating that body cam footage or police report that the call-ins on 911 are considered confidential and not disclosable, but at the same time, the district attorney's office might be involved in that same matter, and they're releasing the same information that the City of Marque do have determined is not disclosable. That's embarrassing. So I'm making the comment. That's a challenge. I hope that we can get that correct. Oftentimes what I hear is that the reason that alternate is determined that that is not disclosable is because we have no way of what is it, editing
Oh, yes, sir.
that is the same information is being released by another governmental authority.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I remember different time. So, yeah, that's a great, that's an exception about for very small cities that don't have video editing software. So that access version of the city that your city has that capability now.
Okay.
That is something that is outside of specific. But basically, this is training office and video editing software. That was the point.
The other item is one that I have to bring with regard to open records on is and when I say open records, I think I also cover posting of our information, right? Posting of meetings, things of that nature.
So they're both under the sunset laws or the laws, but they are different sections of the.
So you know, I'm saying you indicated your background of this City of Houston. City of Houston, I've been here meetings, I've been there, any of the council members over there, I've seen your agenda packages, like every item is included in there, and everything that we discussed in the package information. City of Marque is challenged with that. We get agendas that are submitted to us, in the spirit of transparency, and we don't get the password, or we get financial reports only during the course of this meeting. And citizens, us, don't have the opportunity to review the information. What is your thoughts about that?
First, I will say, we never close information by it from the firm. Second, maybe it's better question for us, but I can give you my thoughts.
Please.
Just for 5 law, the Open Meetings Act requires the agenda be posted. And so it's become practice for a lot of cities to also include a packet of all the supporting materials. But that's not required under the law. The law is the intent. So whether that's private or not, and whether like what people want to do, those are very different. But as far as the law goes, as long as you have the agenda for the item properly posted timeline, that's the important part.
That's the important part. But you said other three because taking it where they post all the information prior to the meeting. But that's the information. So thank you on that side. I think that also clarifies questions that we get from individuals for the question are wondering about the values that we're taking discussion. And before they get enough of the height, we'll do that. So I think it's one.
So you said because I think saying that you have to go with my sorry. Yes, you said I can talk to the young man who at school and was up. Okay, last thing, one more time. I think that it would be important to provide this council a general meeting that it would be accessible to the public, that will outline and explain this law, and that will clearly outline what those exceptions are, so that we can understand as a council so that the public can understand us. Remember, none of us on campus are practicing lawyers. And so consider that when you explain the information to us, and then essentially I want to be able to open record was that like that language of that information so that they can follow as well. I have three, and I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Is there or is there not a contract or an agreement on payment between Olsen and Olsen and the city of Lamar? That's a yes.
That I started on the very yesterday. I grew in April, and I started working here for certain PTA. I wasn't there when you reported, so I'm gonna go back and check the record. But we're pretty amazed at that.
His hands, sister, enable all of the time of your members, is there, is that a concern for professional services? Yes or no? Is that contract a contract that by the law on our for the city council of the city of Lamar? I have to include. Yes or no? Yes or no? So, so the answer, so the answer that the city of Lamar, that, causes us to release information or video, or causes us to release information or video, or the flow of big information in any way, shape, or form beyond what the law requires. Did you understand the question?
Yes, sir. And for the audience here, the answer is no. We are on the booth there with our department. But I'm not here on a day-to-day basis. I can't tell what's listening to Olsen Olsen. But as far as what they said in the Olsen Olsen, the request they sent, the questions they asked, everything seems above board. They're just trying to get the right answer. They're just talking to people who's not anything to help with that. I've never seen a red flag. I've seen people maybe not give their right answer, but they're asking some questions and we help them out. So I've never seen a red flag like that. But
Is there a policy that we have that this council, this community is unaware of that provides for some sort of direction, rapidly, requirements that we have put in place as a city that limits information above and beyond what the law requires? Yes or no? Is there a policy that the city has for when we do or when we do not forward requests to Olsen Group? Is there a written policy?
I believe the written policy is just the Public Information Act itself. And if the information that what is confidential under that, that it is then forwarded to Olsen also. So that they can write to the information.
Say prior to, employing, also engagement with no strength, I do believe the previous attorney under previous administration did have a written memo, requiring city five information to make all that information to the attorney general development. That is not completely separate policy that which.
Is that above and beyond the law?
That's not necessarily. That's just always specific policy.
It doesn't have in a way that the law would require.
Yeah, we heard there was really what decided it.
The issue is not on our time is first around, but the issue is it appears that we do not have a written policy. We are unlike what you all are explaining to us, following state law according to what law is saying.
Yes, but the decision is getting with a reference to the.
Why would we not, why would we not have a policy that would outline that very clearly, and that would outline a process that we would on the go in order to execute this, this law that we're trying to follow with those laws. Who the thought, why would we have that power? I'm done, again, we got to put on time. Who else wants to, do you want to, you want to, anybody understand what we're looking? Let's go, let's five.
I personally myself, we attended a training, and it was for the head of the department, but training there, and had to talk with them. Well, I didn't follow up with them on, and I participated in a personal habit of mine now, is that there was discussion with regard to text messages or calls that they be received while we are sitting here at this time. And according to his information, that was he indicated that anything that was received, or I should say this, when we left it, that anything that we received can be subject to an open request.
Yeah, I kind of just like, I have people who ban matters, but the fact that you're clear, we need to text message you email, that I believe they're relevant, supporting the app, is whether or not, like, something is on a person's site. If it's on a person's site, it depends on whether it's personal email. So, purely personal, or purely personal text, is talking about eating dinner or something like that. And that's not subject to the app, and it's not related to it. But it is related to either anyway. And whether it's on personal life or sitting on the device, it falls in the scope of the app. So it's more about what is being discussed than when and where you are in your.
So in that context, you receive a text message while we're sitting here. We're even a call, but from a constituent or from any other resident of the city, or could be actually could be happening for their person. And it's regarding an issue that we're discussing. So that becomes what I just heard, that becomes subject to the act. Right away. That's the sort of.
It's something very comfortable in the message itself. Because I think we have to threat to think of something that can be like that. But not if everything was especially without something to talk about here, now it will be.
And then the other item is thank you. Well, I did my other pair of glasses. I apologize. Thank you for the requesting engagement point there. That's important. But we can be curious about that from that stuff. I think I covered the first word. I want to thank West Farming for doing this. It's something that was necessary. Really.
And we said it was the final, yeah. I keep saying. It's how I'm just right. Yes. In addition to that, I think it's clear that this man will upset was that they are and their thing. And their legal training on their training areas. But they believe that they are following the law. Here's everything I had to. So I have added to this law that governs that we are already having to get these requests ruled on by the attorney general. Whatever that law is, I'd like for you to again write a memo to the council on a level, that we need to understand that is not confidential, so that our community opinion can request, so we can all learn this together.
Absolutely, that's right. Together.
I believe you should do it because you're the subject matter. And let's get a different opinion from the survey and a different opinion from the parents. more, the more things, you know, that we do, the more educated we become.
Absolutely, that's what I understand. Do you want the memo to cover, the public information process, how it should look, what acceptance may apply, when you go to the attorney general, is it generally that, or is it something else that you want there?
No, no, exactly, no. Because the vision in our community is coming into when open requests are being answered. Like some of them are being, um, fulfilled, some of them are being put on hold, some of them are, they're human being requested, and they are following, apparently according to, our staff, different types of requests, with different types of, context and around. And if that's true, we need to become more educated. Because that's what we hear, but we have, that has not been articulated. That I'm not convinced that has not been articulated. And so, if that's what the role is for our community, I would like to be, to, fulfill that role and inform and educate our community, so that we can have more information that does not come from this council or from the staff, come from outside sources.
Absolutely, that's kind of a great idea. I will absolutely.
The advance, process, we are process. Like it was voluntary on, I would like to be doing today was bring back to the council a process. If it is voluntary on the actual process, how does the city clerk follow state law? How does the city attorney follow state law? How do those records, keeping persons in the police department, how are they supposed to follow this? Let this council is how pass a policy, that is a reflection of what the will of our community is, so long as it follows the state. Trade is trade. I'm done,
Question just for, question for the council is, I know in the past, we've all experienced this, but we have a discussion with regard to this item. And, we don't have your influence of this. And I understand the question of the shelter is if we have further agenda items, discussion from that currently we need to be a group available to some of the staff to provide us. Because I wanted that not all the each have their own part, and then the city has it. So, and is that good practice? That's the question. You can have any input from anybody.
Think for all those persons that you talk with. You know, these people are still keeping their things. Kind of go to our office of like a line whisper. I think that's great.
And I think for purpose of our community, is all of us up here to understand that it's not some nefarious effort by this city government to withhold information. Just for practice, it's something that they can not a problem, not yourself.
Exactly. I don't personally, I do not care what is released and what has been released, as long as it's what the law says to be released and that be released. But we're not allowed to ask why some of the information. Every person is saying, so all I'm worried about is if this comes for that, I'm essentially for the journal's office, and they're going to give me the final answer. I'm looking at this on my own, because by law we can't. I want to make any assumptions, if by law we don't. I want transparency as much as possible. It's like that's why the city attorney general, as much as we do, is they're the ones to give the actual visual.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, we were almost there. And then you said that's why we came into the Attorney General as much as we do the Senate, which implies, in my view, that there is some sort of ability on your part or discretion to choose.
No, sir. There's if you like, I can talk about that. But, what I'm saying is that some cities, some counties, because the applies to everyone, some don't put as much due diligence in, most don't, not most, some just release information that they should be releasing. And if they don't get caught, they don't get caught. But that's not how I operate. I make sure all the law is set away. And so that's why I'm saying the Attorney General, because they're the only ones who can give an official determination on if something is released.
Galveston County releases, Galveston County does not, for example, Galveston County does not release, information unless it is strictly according to the law. Harris County releases information, in a different way, two different ways of releasing information. Are you suggesting to this council, to this community, that the way that you and your firm process and release information is strictly according to the laws of the state of Texas? Those other entities that release information at a different place with less of a requirement are breaking the law. Is that what you know?
I am saying that some entities do release information that they could not have released. Yeah, that's what I can say in my personal experience. I have seen it. I think the Attorney General is ruling and reprimand about that as well. We've seen, for example, about 2 years ago, they had to pay it's like $300,000 in penalties and fines because they refused to release something that they should have released. So that's why we always, and their problem with Bill is that they did not go to the Attorney General's office. They just refused to release the information.
But that's different. See, that's different.
Yes, sir.
You're saying people won't make anything. You said it was fine because they refused to release information. That's what you're saying. And so what you articulating to us is that your style, your mode, your process, you bring it to release of information unless it's strictly according to the law, or unless you have an opinion from the Attorney General, which means you too. That release of information.
That's the quality of public information act. That's what the public information act requires us. It requires us to only release information that is either completely 100% public, or if there's ever any question, you simply go to the General's office and they will do the actual decision. Because they're the ones who can say whether or not something is legal or not, if there's ever any question. I can't make that, like, for example, there's a mandatory exception, like homeland security. I can't look at a document and say, oh, no, we have to withhold that. Even if I know for a fact we can withhold it, I have to send it to the Attorney General's office. That is the process. And we do that for all of our clients, and that includes Galveston County. We handle quite a few of their requests as well. It's something that we do across the board. It's what the process is. The Attorney General, they are the judge, they're the decider when it comes to these matters. They have to send the Attorney General for them to make that determination.
So let's go with that. And I'm not sure we know what you said to me was is that Olsen is so in alignment with the law, and that Olsen interpretation of the law is a service, and that Olsen follows the law and follows the opinion of the attorney. And you said other entities don't do that. I'm not a lawyer, but I think you're a value. You said we follow the law. Other entities don't do that. And when I ask you a direct question about whether or not it is your understanding that other entities break the law and how they release information, you gave me a lawyer. We didn't answer the question. Yes or no? Are you saying to us that the way that some other entities that release information in a different ways, different process, with a different understanding of the law, that your opinion on it in your firm's opinion that they are breaking the law? Yes or no? Yes. Oh, I didn't know. Anyone else?
I'm gonna go back to one, about 6:30, you said something about the list of phone lines. Lead me to believe that there are things to get for a road. But one of the big questions I have is, say our fire department buys a fire truck. 5 years, they put $1 million on it, we don't bought it, they got it out the parking lot. We asked the city clerk, hey, can I see the paperwork for that $1 million fire truck? She sent it to the fire department, I don't have it. I don't have anything. Who's responsible for getting that?
Well, I think that's what the question is, depending on whether that person put this or not. If it's after the retention period, I think, I don't know for those documents, if the retention period was a year ago. Yeah, so if the retention period has not lapsed, then that situation should still exist. But if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. The public information will only cover what information absolutely still exists. So if the retention period is running out and I can repeat it, if you don't know what happened, there's no information to give over it, it's already been deleted. Now, the extent is still exist, then the city is under obligation to do a good faith search of all of the institutions, so all the here, all the files, everywhere, in order to get that information. So if it exists, whoever is building a record for that department, it's up to them to find that information.
So at the time it did exist, and we didn't get the information, when it happened.
There are lots of ways to handle that internally and externally. But generally, externally, you can go and submit a complaint to the Attorney General's office, and they have an investigation with it. I recommend that to a lot of requesters who email in and they agree with me or but yeah, we'll send it to them. The Attorney General has the ability to investigate it. And also the local DA's office and their rate was done. So yeah, you can sort of higher reward. They both have the authority to investigate.
Bring up, great question. I'm hearing the first one, retention period of records. Is there some sort of retention period that should be followed for record?
Either there. Yeah, the Texas State Library promulgates.
Oh, and what is, how many years?
It depends on the record.
On the record,
Yeah, it's something, it's like, I'm very,
and what the request is for them to say, we want to know what happened 20 years ago on surplus equipment that nobody is running on.
in most periods between on the items run from 2 years to about 5 to 7 years. I don't know if maybe it goes beyond 7 years, and when it comes to like the restriction on file, we need to keep that information they can deal, like or things like that. But for the most part, after 7 years, most information is done.
And then the second question is to do more with City of Houston. City of Houston recently passed the city council, all requests had to be released for 30 days or something along those lines. Recall that?
I'm not sure about that may not happen after me, but I don't know exactly what that's coming from, but it sounds like, 2 legislative cycles ago, there was a law for ruling, so if you get an Attorney General ruling back, and they say this needs to be released or not, there wasn't an actual deadline as to when that's supposed to happen. So the city could take its time, gathering records, getting it out, and then, so in the state law, there is a 30-day, so when you get that ruling back, the city has 30 days from the date of that ruling to release anything that the Attorney General said to release. I don't know if the Houston Council was talking about that, or maybe it was something else. That's going to take the 30 days that I'm aware of.
I'll find out more. Thanks.
Make sure that we go down something that we're trying to understand about open records. You made the comment to Mr. Lowry that the custodian of records of the city clerk is ultimately responsible for the open records process and providing those pieces of information that are requested. But then you said something else that I think that we as a council is. You said that those requests are fulfilled by some sort of person who is responsible
on a department level, and you call that person a department custodian of record, which means that each department should have a designated person that is responsible for gathering and keeping the information for that department. Yes, ma'am.
Not necessarily. I lawyerly answer.
No.
Yeah, no, it's because
Yeah, everything is along those lines. Let's say you don't have a large city. Let's say you have a small city, and there's one person or one office that is the custodian of records for all of the departments. If a person submits a request for how many miles, our interim city manager traveled to a conference, for example. If that department goes to that city manager's office and says, we have a request for mileage for a conference. And the city manager's office says, I traveled 5 miles. She then is obligated to share that information with the request. That's correct.
if it's written information, I mean, there's really yes, right. If you get something says, yeah, I traveled 5 miles, then that would be responsive to the request. Yes, that.
What if she traveled 500 and only says she traveled?
That's a great question.
But where does the responsibility, because the council keeps asking the same questions for Mark.
Yeah, without going into the long tangent, the summary is that the custodian of records is the person responsible unless the account is notified to. So if they go to someone who's supposed to have those records, they hey, I think you have these documents, and you get them over to it. And then that person lies, then they are the ones violating the act. Because the violations of the act require an intent. So the custodian is doing their job and ask someone, hey, do you have these records? And they're told, no, I don't have those records. Then the custodian did their job. They did everything they're supposed to do. So this person who lied, or cancer, whoever they did, then it's their fault because they knowingly withheld something that maybe was confidential, but we still have to see the attorney general's office. We still have that obligation. So yeah, so they are the ones on the end. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to, again, in terms of giving throughout the meeting, I think that,
So you answered some of the questions that I have, Mayor. The other question I have is, and tell me if I'm off topic this, since we're talking about open records and you know that some people have used it to sterilize cities, what has been the recommendation for Ocean to combat that? Because that's what other council people have said in other meetings that I've attended. What do you do when you have that's happening and it's paralyzing and whipping the staff?
Legally, there is no answer. Because in fact, it's foundational to state law. It cannot infringe upon that. So there are very few things that we can do. One thing that the city can do and have done is adopt their hospital. I believe the doctor has to talk to the head. But the taxation for the prosecutor for that. This allows you to track their time and sort of the earlier, hard to request earlier in the process. So if there's no request, the charges will not very often, some cities don't charge at all, some cities will only charge this large request, that's more policy wise. But the benefit of the optional rules is that once someone has wasted spent a lot of time in the city, so I think the threshold 36 hours. Once the city has worked on their request for a year for more than 36 hours, Then, when that person submits the request, you can go to them and say, hey, we've already done this round of work for you. So this request, we absolutely will process it and follow along, but you have to pay our estimated charges first. So that's about the most you can do to combat that.
Right, that don't have to be cheap. This is taxpayers' money as well. And so some cities, on some meetings that I have been on, that question has come up about taxpayer waste because of one or two persons that are inundating the staff with the same question. So what I'm looking for some solutions to that makes sense and still while you still follow the law, right? So I would like you could to provide a best practice for us that we could perhaps put that into policy to protect, to follow the law, but also protect our staff and taxpayer money because we've had to actually expand our department as a result of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, let's, we're going to give everybody another, this, I'm going to round it out.
So let me run the process. No matter if they want, since they want one of them, they can inundate as much as they want. They want access to view it, their right to view it. Two things, one is the process for lost records. So if you wildfire took 6 months, nobody can see, find out some receipts or anything, how the transaction ran. What is the process and everything to write it out before the process to with the Texas license to Marque report them if you can collaborate on it. And then also the person is in, they're also able to get those records. So what is the process to do?
Like, to your questions, what we do in that time to the library goes or required or something, I know we're often required. As far as the act goes, the act needs to inform the requester that hey, these documents no longer exist. You go above and beyond, it gives them more information as to what you think may happen, like all the areas are out or this server got lost in the flood or whatever it is. That's above and beyond what you have to do. I recommend it. Your second question, that is up to city policy. The act allows the city to waive fees in certain cases, and also if you think there is a public benefit. And so the city may elect to waive those charges, but you're not required to.
Anyone else with any?
I would like to know what is our policy on fees and are they give feedback or are they reasonable? Because let's say last week I went to the department had talked about the online where you can use that as an effort, but feedback too. I think that's the one we use. We use the attorney general portal. Again, even that sometimes puts the request the document out of the reach of the individual. We could add up. And so what I'm hearing is that the city can set its own policy with regard not to follow the portal. It's their own policy, not put out something like that.
Yeah, the portal will be the ceiling. You can't go higher than what state law allows. So you have to go lower. I will say more than enough policy like that makes sure it's universal in how it's applied because the app also requires you to keep all your customers the same. If you start waiving charges for certain requesters and not for others, then that could potentially come into it. You want to make sure any exception or any reduction of fees, anything you adopt needs to be formalized and made very clear as to when those charges will be made.
I just have really, I want to follow up with 3 points from what I gathered from the discussion. First of all, thank you for being and answering some tough questions. My hope that you will return quarterly to make a presentation, even if it's, hey guys, I'm doing. And we had 4 or 5 different instances where we had to put attorney general who can't talk one, but it did happen. And I'm here to ask the question from the community about house, law, whatever. We do that quarterly so we can make sure that everybody on the same page as it relates to
what the expectation is of the release of sensitive information or information that you want on this county. Secondly, we agree to provide an email that can be questioned by the community on the level of understanding for those ones that are not voters. The email explaining this rule all that we talked about giving a greater opportunity for information to elected officials, as well as how we are governed on the NDA and how local laws affect our community, and how the laws of what goes to the attorney general for treatment, how they will on a level that we all read. And understand. That's the second thing. The third thing is this medical advance is going to provide a policy for this council to approve that is consistent with state law, so that the community can see that we are acting, and we will, once we act, schedule follow up, whatever time we ask for council to fit quarterly, annually on how that policy is being implemented and the results of that policy implementation. Fair enough, everyone? Again, thank you. Mr. Dog, I wish we could get you. If we let you ask questions, we got 20,000 residents that's going to ask 10 weeks of this issue. I know, we can't. I appreciate you answering our questions. Bring them back. I can't promise you he'll be back to call. But I promise you that some. I am sorry. Would you go back to Mr. Hoggins is certainly having an issue. Would you visit with him? Would that help? I really can't get you asked. I can't let you ask a question. But if you have a concern, this gentleman will visit with. It's just something I know we can't do it because then I have to let him do it. If you understand that. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Mr. Word, you're saying that you want to take a 2-minute recess? Yes, sir. 2 recess. Down issue. Channel 16. Okay, 2-minute recess. Council don't want to so that we can reset the system so that we can recover sound. Recess for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I just need somebody to talk every now and then, make sure it, it's working or not.
Yes.
Like you have to ask for one question. Or you like that. Yeah. Mine, they don't have to bring on that question. I have to do something like drop or off. Not do anything. But probably want to say one that's that's why also, there's a way to get something I do. So, you're attached to Marque. Yes, I don't know if it's big, so I can hear you call. So I can't hear anything on YouTube. Yes. That's 30 days. That's 30 days. 30 days. Like 13. Yeah, I mean, something.
Yeah.
We have to call up your thing. Yes.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. Go. 7. Yeah.
Now, whether, I don't think it's potential. They can like potential. Still do it just as that's the. So, if you like.
I can't.
Still.